it. And we're just making sure we're welcoming everyone into the meeting. Thank you for joining us. As we do have attendees coming through, and welcome to the West Orange Board of Education Reorganization meeting. And now I'm gonna double hear myself. There we go. Okay. As we're waiting for all of our attendees to come into the room, I'm just going to give you some brief rules and regulations, as we haven't done this in a while. As attendees, you will be muted and you are off camera. We do not hear or see you, but when it comes time for public comment, the raise your hand function will be located at the bottom of your screen. You'll press that at that time. You'll be placed in a queue. So we ask you, if you would like to speak, just press it. You don't have to wait for anyone to finish speaking. You'll have your 3 minutes, and then the responses will happen at the end. There is only one section for public comment today on the agenda as well. And I do apologize in advance if I mispronounce your names, and I am going to be using the names on the what you signed up for Zoom, so keep an ear out for that in case you're using somebody else's computer. Okay, just making sure that we are broadcasting live to the world right now. And yeah, we are live. Okay, so we're just going to wait maybe another couple seconds for our attendees to come into the room. And again, for everyone, welcome to the Board of Education virtual reorganization meeting. It is the 6th of January. Happy New Year to everybody. Okay, we have a few more coming in. Okay, Miss Flowers, the meeting is all yours. Have a great one, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Graftisa. Good evening, everyone. Calling this meeting the January 6, 2022 reorganization meeting for West Orange Board of Ed. Calling the meeting to order. Just want to wish everyone a happy new year and welcome everyone to our meeting this evening. The first order of business, I will now announce the results of the annual school election held on November 2nd, 2021. We had 2 candidates run for 2 3-year terms. And the official votes are as follows. Mr. Brian Rock received 8,130 total votes. Mr. Eric E. Stevenson received 8,275 total votes. At this time, I will swear in the new board members, starting with Mr. Rock. If you'll please raise your right hand and read the required oath for school board members.
I, Brian Rock, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. I, Brian Rock, do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of the Board of Education, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Thank you. And Mr. Stevenson, if you'll please raise your right hand and read the required oath for school board members.
Mr. Stevenson, you're actually on mute.
Thank you.
No problem.
I, Eric E. Stevenson, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. I, Eric E. Stevenson, do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of the member of the Board of Education, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Thank you, Mr. Rock and Mr. Stevenson. Congratulations and welcome to the board.
Thank you.
Now we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
America,
And
and
to
to
the
the republic for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
justice
for all.
Notice of meeting. A written notice was sent from the office of the Secretary of the Board at 4 p.m. on January 8th and December 13th, 2021. That said notice was sent by regular mail to the West Orange Township Clerk and the editors of the West Orange Chronicle and the Star Ledger. That said notice was posted in the lobby of the Administration Building of the Board of Education. Now for the nominations for the election of the president. Nominations are now open.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Jennifer Tunnicliffe to be president.
I
I would like to second that nomination.
Okay, my apologies. I do need to backtrack. Thank you, Ms. Huerta. I did forget to do the roll call after we did the swearing in of the board members. Thank you. If we could just go back and I can start with the roll call of all board members. Mrs. Tunnicliffe,
Here.
Mr. Rothstein,
Here,
Mrs. Huerta,
Here,
Mr. Rock,
Here.
Mr. Stevenson.
here.
Thank you. My apologies. Now the floor is open for nominations for president.
well, for the second time, I would like to have the pleasure of nominating Jennifer Tunnicliffe to be president of the board.
I would like to second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to close the nominations for president of the Board of Education?
I move to close the nominations for president of the Board of Education.
And I'd like to second that.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I will now take a roll call for Ms. Tunnicliffe for President of the Board of Education. Okay, Mr. Rothstein,
Yes,
Mrs. Huerta,
Yes,
Mr. Rock,
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson,
Yes,
Mrs. Tunnicliffe.
Yes.
Thank you, and congratulations, Mrs. Tunnicliffe, as President of the Board of Education.
Thank you.
I now turn the meeting over to President Tunnicliffe.
Thank you very much. And welcome to the first meeting of 2022. Our next item on the agenda is the election of our vice president. Do I have a nomination for the vice president of the Board of Ed? I would like to nominate Mr. Rothstein.
I'll second that motion.
Any other nominations? Okay, I will now take a roll call for the nominations for Mr. Rothstein for Vice President. Mrs. Tunnicliffe,
Yes.
Mrs. Huerta,
yes,
Mr. Rock,
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson,
Yes,
Mr. Rothstein.
no, I'm just kidding. Yes. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Rothstein, Vice President of the Board of Education.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if I may, I have a statement from that I'd like to read from my messages here. From our immediate past president, Mrs. Terry Trick Scales. Congratulations to Board President Tunnicliffe and Vice President Rothstein. Congratulations to board members Brian Rock and Eric Stevenson, extending my best wishes in your new positions. Sincerely, our past president, Mrs. Terry Trick Scales. Thank you, Mrs. President Tunnicliffe.
Thank you, Ms. Flowers. And thank you, former President Trigg Scales, for your welcome of our new board members. And I'd also like to welcome them as well. And nice warm welcome to both Mr. Rock and Mr. Stevenson. We are looking forward to you joining the board and working with you this year. I know I was hoping that this would be a more celebratory mood tonight, but I know with the resignation of Dr. Cascone, that's dampened a bit of the spirits here in West Orange this evening. But nevertheless, we're super excited for both of you to join us, and we're all looking forward to working with you very much. Before I get into the rest of the agenda, I did want to read the statement that we developed from all of us here at the board. This was developed last night, and it was posted early this morning at 8 a.m. through Messenger, and it was also posted on social media. The West Orange Board of Education wishes to express our gratitude to Dr. J. Scott Cascone for his service to our schools and our community, and to offer our best wishes as he pursues a new opportunity with another New Jersey school district. Dr. Cascone has led us through the challenges of COVID-19 while simultaneously laying the groundwork for stability and progress in our schools. We are at a loss for words to express how much his work is appreciated and how deeply he will be missed. He will remain in his position with the West Orange School District as late as April 5th, 2022, as we search for an interim superintendent. We are now tasked with two steps: hiring an interim superintendent to provide leadership as we search for a permanent replacement, and searching for a new superintendent to lead our schools into the future. Our immediate goal is to quickly secure capable leadership for a transitional period. We will work with the school district's human resources team, the New Jersey School Boards Association, and the New Jersey Association of School Administrators to identify and hire an interim superintendent. In this temporary position, the interim superintendent will provide the management needed to see our schools through the end of this current school year and the start of the next one while we search for our permanent replacement. One of the most important tasks for any school board is the hiring of a superintendent to oversee the operations of the district. It is crucial to find a leader who not only has the credentials and experience for the role, but who is also the right fit for our schools and community. We have begun our outreach and planning to engage in this search. We're fortunate to have many excellent resources to work with in this selection process. We will provide a timeline and regular updates as we move forward search for a new superintendent. That process will include opportunities for community input. We will ensure that there is a continuity of leadership to maintain the progress already underway. Our schools are and will remain outstanding institutions of learning and opportunity for our students. Please contact the Board of Education with any questions by email through our website at https://www.wobe.org or at our regular scheduled meetings. Thank you. Okay. Without further ado, we are going to go right into our reorganization meeting agenda. And the first items on the list, we're going to entertain a motion for items D through S, with the exception of items F, J, and L, because they require some further discussion by the board members. Do I have a motion to accept?
A motion.
Thank you, Ms. Huerta. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rock. Is there any discussion on any of the items? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Flowers? Would you take the? Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Huerta,
Yes.
Mr. Rock,
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson,
Yes.
Vice President Rothstein,
Yes.
President Tunnicliff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to now move to item F in the agenda, which is the board designations for committees. And I think we have some discussion about this. So we'll just go through the list and assign, for those of you who want to work on each of these, just let me know as we go through. So New Jersey School Boards Association. Was there any interest from any other board members?
If nobody had an interest in that, I'll take that, President Tunnicliff.
Okay, thank you. And then I think we need one other. Anyone else?
An alternate? Any?
You can put me down as the alternate.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rock. Essex County School Boards.
And I was also actually interested in that one.
Okay, great. Mr. Rothstein and an alternate. If not, I'll take the alternate position on that one. Okay, and we need some folks for legislative committee.
I'd be interested in that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Rocks. And an alternate.
I can do the alternate.
Thank you, Ms. Huerta. Okay, and then negotiations committee, I can take that one. Keep the continuity from last year. Policy, we need a chairperson. And who is that? Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And board township liaison.
I would like to serve in that role, please.
Okay.
If you need a second or alternate, I'd like to help with that too.
Okay, that's great. It's always good to have two.
And apologies if we could take one step back to policy. I would like to also serve on that committee.
Oh, terrific. Thank you, Mr. Rothstein. And public relations.
I would like to continue to chair that position this year. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Huerta. And is there a second person who'd like to work on public relations? If not, I'll take care of that. I'll work with Ms. Huerta on that. Unless somebody else wants to. Okay, wonderful. So just to review, we have Mr. Rothstein for New Jersey School Boards and Mr. Rock. Essex County School Boards will be also Mr. Rothstein and Ms. Tunnicliff. Legislative chairpersons will be Mr. Rock and Ms. Huerta. Negotiations will be Ms. Tunnicliff. And is anyone else interested in negotiations?
I can join you in there.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So that will be Mr. Stevenson. And then policy chairperson, we have Mr. Stevenson and Mr. Rothstein. Boards Township Liaison, Ms. Huerta and Mr. Rock, and Public Relations Committee, Ms. Huerta and myself. Okay, I'll turn this over to you, Ms. Flowers.
Okay, thank you. I can have a motion for the slate of appointees for the board designations.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. And we've had discussion, so roll call, please. Mrs. Huerta?
Yes.
Mr. Rock,
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson,
Yes.
Vice President Tunnicliffe. Excuse me, Vice President Rothstein,
Already trying to replace them, huh? Yes.
President Tunnicliffe.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's okay, I almost responded when you said vice president last time.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, so moving right along, we will look at item number J, which is our board calendar for the next year, which goes from January 2021 or 2022, right, into January 2023. And I just noticed that the dates were wrong on the top of the version I have. I don't know if that was, but I did want to just, if I can, just make a note on this, that the times that are listed on this in the agenda, just for the public's edification, are the times that the board reports. These are not the public meeting times. The public meeting times are an hour later. So wherever you see, 6 p.m., the meeting would start at 7 p.m. If you see 6:30, it would start at 7:30. So I just wanted to make that clear to everyone. Okay, do we have a motion?
A motion?
Okay, a second?
Yes, seconded.
Okay, any discussion on this?
Just as a technicality, regarding the start times, I think the last item on the list, January 5th, 2023, is the one instance where that's the actual start time.
Yes, correct. Thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate that. Okay.
Also, President Tunnicliffe, it showed the wrong date or the year on mine as well. So I guess we just can go back, or do we need to make a motion to amend that?
We should amend it.
Right, so the roll call will do as amended. Mhm.
Okay, so amending the schedule of the title, that says schedule of Board of Ed meetings, January, it should be January 2022 to January 2023.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Madam President. Last year, because there was a lot of confusion with times, they added a separate column instead of the asterisks. They added a separate column that said like public time, because we were having an issue with the agendas. People would read, it says like, oh, the meeting's at 6.
Right.
So on the agendas, like the written agendas, we usually put like public agenda time also on it, because we have people that unfortunately do come an hour early.
Yes, we don't want to inconvenience our public. So that's a great suggestion. Thank you very much.
Sure.
So we
we'll
have
amend as well, an extra column to show, or is that just a recommendation from Ms. Gartisa?
It was really more for the individual agendas that you guys hand out, more than the recommendation for the one sheet, but the ones that you actually hand out at the end of the night, or for the agenda for the beginning of the night, to have the actual public time on there.
Thank you.
So we have a motion. Do I have a motion to approve the Board of Ed meeting schedule with the amendment of the date change from January 2021 to 22, from 22 to 23?
I'll motion.
Yes,
Okay.
and I'd second that.
Thank you, Ms. Huerta and Mr. Rothstein. Okay. Ms. Flowers?
Roll call, thank you. Mrs. Huerta,
Yes.
Mr. Rock,
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson,
Yes.
Vice President Rothstein,
Yes.
President Tunnicliffe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the last item that we need to discuss is adopting the Code of Ethics per the New Jersey statute, and it's 18A 1221, and West Orange Board of Education bylaw 9271. So the members of the Board of Education, and I'm going to ask everybody to read the letters that they were assigned as we go through this. So if everyone needs a minute to take out their packet. The members of the Board of Education recognize that they hold authority not as individuals, but as members of the board. In order to make a clear public statement of its philosophy of service to the pupils of the district, the board adopts this code of ethics. I will hold up and enforce all laws, rules, and regulations of the State Board of Education and court orders pertaining to schools. Desired changes shall be brought about only through legal and ethical procedures. Mr. Rothstein?
I apologize. I don't know which ones were assigned to me.
Your B and G.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. I will make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of children and will seek to develop and maintain public schools which meet the individual needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing.
I will confine my board action to policymaking, planning, and appraisal, and I will help to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them.
I will behave toward my fellow board members with the respect due their office, demonstrating courtesy, decorum, and fair play at all public meetings and in all public statements.
I will recognize that authority rests with the Board of Education and will make no personal promises nor take any private action that may compromise the board.
I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups, or to use the school for personal gain or for the gain of friends.
I will hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools which, if disclosed, would needlessly injure individuals or the schools. In all other matters, I will provide accurate information and, in concert with my fellow board members, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for its schools.
I will vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer.
I will support and protect school personnel and proper performance of their duties.
I will refer all complaints to the Chief Administrative Officer and will act on the complaints at public meetings only after failure of an administrative solution.
Thank you to all of our board members for that. I appreciate it. Is there, oh, sorry, Ms. Flowers, there's not a,
Yes, we'll motion to, and take a second for the acceptance of the Code of Ethics.
okay, thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Was that
Any-
Mr.
any-
Rock and Mr. Stevenson? I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Flowers?
Okay, roll call. Mrs. Huerta,
Yes.
Mr. Rock,
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson,
Yes.
Vice President Rothstein,
Yes,
President Tunnicliffe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. We are now at the point of the meeting where we will hear the petitions and hearings of our citizens. Ms.
Okay.
Ruff,
It's been a little bit. It's like I remember what the order of everything is. Oh wait, I shouldn't have. See, I took away the timer there. Give me one sec. Here we go. Okay, yes, this is the time for public comment. If you would like to speak, it is the raise your hand function located at the bottom of your screen. I do want to make a note here that anyone that is joining us from the YouTube live stream, you will not be able to participate in this manner. If you would like to have public comment, you will need to jump over to the Zoom, which the information could be found on the West Orange Public Schools website, which is woboe.org. And then you will go to the Board of Education, and then Board of Education information, and I'll have the link for you there. So I just wanted to note that in case anyone on the live stream was looking to talk. So if you are one of our call-in viewers, you're just going to push the *9 button. It'll put you right in the queue. So at this time, if anyone would like to raise their hand, it's located right at the bottom of your screen, and you do not have to wait for anyone to finish talking before you raise that hand. And for our first caller for the new year is Sandra Mordecai. If you can follow the prompt on your screen, please, and give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Sandra Mordecai, Pleasant Valley Way.
Thank you.
Congratulations to the newly sworn in board members, Brian Rock and Eric Stevenson. I wish you well. Thank you to Terry Trigg-Scales and Cheryl Merklinger for your service and hard work. Dr. Cascone, thank you for your hard work. It's been a tough 2 years. As a member of the board who hired you, I do certainly wish you well in your future endeavors. Congratulations to President Tunnicliffe and Vice President Rothstein. I would like to discuss the ad hoc committees and suggest that some should become standing committees. In particular, the Diversity Committee has been in place since 2011, and although it's now in a different format, it should be discussed as a standing committee. The Sustainability Committee hasn't been staffed regularly in some time, but should be. The Health and Wellness Committee, although it's on the district website, hasn't been staffed regularly either. At a past meeting, I believe in December, the board approved trailers. Prior boards spent 10 years getting rid of trailers. And last year during lame duck, you approved buying trailers to expand facilities for preschool. I thought that there was discussion of an arrangement with local preschools for tuition to enroll West Orange preschoolers. Also last year during lame duck, there was a press release on contract negotiations for the expired contracts retroactive. The press release wasn't detailed, so could you please clarify? Thank you.
Hey, thank you. And, Michael Colon, if you can please follow the prompt on your screen and give us your name and address for the record.
Hi, Michael Colon, Lessing Road.
Thank you.
Excellent. So thank you for hearing me tonight, and thank you for your ongoing hard work. I'm happy and excited to welcome the new members of the board and look forward to hearing your vision and ideas for the schools, as well as the expertise you both bring from your backgrounds. I'm also really sad to see that Dr. Cascone go, though I can understand his reasons and I wish him the best. My comment tonight is meant to express empathy, but also to share information. I'm a parent and longtime member of the community. I'm committed to our schools. I understand and empathize with any staffing challenges the district may face at this time. But it's also very important that our district leadership, who have a very large audience, not conflate staffing challenges with schools somehow being unsafe or a source of COVID-19 transmission. Although there was some confusion around this topic last year, the science is clear at this point that many schools are abundantly safe, that Omicron is extremely mild variant, and that safe and proven vaccines are widely available for all ages 5 and up. I politely ask that the district leadership be careful with their words as they revolve around the latest necessitation of half days or cohorts. If half days and cohorts are necessary, they should be stated explicitly as such for the purpose of reducing staffing challenges, not COVID transmission reduction. The assertion that full-time school is the safest option for any given community has been unequivocally echoed in the past few weeks by the CDC director, Dr. Fauci, President Biden, and Secretary of State Miguel Cardona. The unequivocal science is backed up by almost 2 years of data both in the US and all over the globe, supports the assertion that full-time school is extremely safe for children. In fact, in terms of COVID-19 alone, it is the safest place for a child to be. This is because schools are regulated, children, when not in school, are not. Dr. Daniel Benjamin, pediatric infectious disease specialist from Duke University, who has been the co-chair of the ABC Collaborative and studying hundreds of schools across the nation for over 18 months, spoke on CNN last week. He stated the following: paradoxically, kids are safer in school, even if only the outcome you are looking at is COVID. The chance of infection is only 1 or 2% if a child is exposed to another child who has COVID. When children aren't in school, they are not in a magic learning haiku. They are doing all sorts of things in the community, engaging community in all sorts of ways. Even if only our outcome is COVID, they are safer in school. There's no data that supports that closing schools systematically helps prevent transmission. We also know that transmission at school is one of the lowest places for transmission to occur. In fact, it's comparable to the safest places to be. Lastly, I hope the district will adopt 5-day quarantine and isolation guidance from the CDC, which was extended to include school environments on January 4th. As I hope this will alleviate some staffing challenges, I hope we can also initiate a CDC prescribed test to stag protocol to eliminate quarantines of unvaccinated in-school contacts. Thank you, and I hope this message resonates with our Board of Education and School Administration going forward and in the future. Things will get better soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, be my final call for anyone who would like to speak. Again, it is the raise your hand button located at the bottom of your screen. If you're a call-in patron, it is *9, and that'll put you in the queue. Okay, seeing none, we will close out the public comment at this time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Graftiza. Okay.
President Tunnicliffe,
Yes.
if you'll allow, I would be happy to just make some remarks in response to some of the comments.
Yes, please do. Thank you.
First off, I just want to express my congratulations to President Tunnicliffe and Vice President Rothstein, of course, new board members, Mr. Rock and Mr. Stevenson, and not to forget returning board member Huerta, bringing her experience back for this new board. It's exciting to see this new board. I know that it's a group of intelligent, earnest, individuals who are going to do a fantastic job, and which will be very critical in these transitions. I'd like to thank all the community members for their good wishes relative to my health and that of my daughter. We are on the mend here. I'm on the tail end of it, but thank you for that. And of course, thank you for the outpouring of support and kind words with regard to, my forthcoming departure. I can tell you that it was distinctly a personal decision. It's a very bittersweet decision, and one that is certainly way more bitter at this time than sweet, because I have truly come to appreciate and love this community and feel at home here. So know that I believe that, feel that in my heart. So thank you. So I'd like to address Mrs. Mordecai's comments about the trailers, and I understand, right? That and I was my first year here. We removed trailers at Redwood, we removed trailers at Gregory, right? And it's not a road that you typically want to go back down. And so I do think that it's worth explaining why this was a path we needed to take. Indeed, as we apply for the preschool expansion grant through the state for next year, that will involve partnerships with local providers in order to expand the number of students to whom we can offer preschool in the first year. The goal of the grant is to, within 5 years, offer universal pre-K to at least 90% of the preschool age eligible population. In year one, with the involvement of local providers, we'd be able to get about a quarter of the way there. We'd be able to offer between 120 and 150 students pre-K. Now, in order to qualify for the grant, the school district has to demonstrate that its existing preschool programs are full day, all of them. Now, presently, the only preschool programs we have are the BMELC. They are both preschool disabled, and we also have integrated classes, which have regular education students and special education students in them. Not all of those sections are full day. Only, I believe, 2 of those sections are full day. We have some of the BMLC, and if you recall, we actually do have some preschool sections at Washington School as well. One of the prerequisites for us to qualify for this grant is all of those classes would need to be converted to full day. In order to do that, we need additional spaces. We don't have additional spaces district-wide, and even if we did, we would not want to scatter that preschool disabled program to the 4 winds, having it in 5 or 6 different facilities. So what this does is it enables us to restrict the sites of our preschool program to just the BMELC and Washington School. We're pleased in our negotiations with the Life Christian Church that they have extended our lease for an additional 2 years there. Okay, the end game, and here comes the final piece to the puzzle. The end game is that we go out for a modest referendum, most likely in the fall of next year. And I should say that this is still being discussed. We'll certainly need to involve the new board, but the game plan is to go out for a referendum in the fall of next year, modest, to pay for the retrofitting of the Board of Education building into the preschool, which would house all of the preschool disabled classes, integrated classes, and most likely 2 or 3 additional classes with some room for growth. At that time, the trailers would be removed and we would be whole again. And also by that time, we will have expanded our partnerships with local providers. And by year 3, we would be offering somewhere between 250 and 350 students within the district universal pre-K. So it's a short-term solution in order to without doing that, we are not eligible for the grant. So it's a necessary step in order to qualify for the grant. So that's with regard to, I know there's a lot of moving parts there. And just as a final piece to that, much of this thinking work and planning work has been happening sort of internally with the administration. We acknowledge and recognize that we're coming to a point soon in the new year, where we want to bring people back to the table and start having more inclusive conversations about the program moving forward, as well as to keep people updated. And that will be happening. But since the trailers were on the agenda, it sort of necessitated some public discussion about this, which is why I'm sort of divulging it at this point in time. But that's the answer to the trailers. As far as the comments and there's Mr. Cologne's comments with regard to schools, we see eye to eye on that in many ways, right? And up until very recently, our mission this year was open full time all day, for all kids, and we were doing great. Obviously, this surge, kind of took us all by surprise and has really thrown a wrench in things, right? So it's not so much a matter of, could we bring all kids in and would kids necessarily be transmitting in school? Not necessarily, but there's such a high volume of cases and the corresponding disruptions and labor that's necessitated to deal with those, those quarantines and the contact tracing and the constant in and out and the arranging for for virtual instruction and things of that nature. This was in lieu of what some districts have done, which was go all virtual, was an intermediate option. And, I think it's important to note that, that schools, when we talk about schools being the safest place and the places where transmission tends to occur least, I think we have to remember that much of that data and those assertions come from last year. Come from the data from last year, which was when we were holding very strictly to that 6-foot social distance rule, right? We weren't eating in school. We were seated 6 feet apart. The nature of our classroom interactions were very artificial. In other words, kids were in rows. Regardless of whether they were a kindergarten student or a 12th grade student, there was very little movement around the room. There was very little small group work, things of that nature. That's completely changed. So kids are moving freely about the room. And secondly, they're not distanced. In fact, in most classrooms, kids are less than 3 feet apart. And of course, during eating times, they're 3 or less feet apart, and in some cases are, and obviously they're not eating with masks on. So the environment that's in schools is a little bit different than it was last year. But make no mistake about it, when we get through this surge, we're back to where we want to be and where we were at the beginning of the year. But the decimation of our human resources, it's real, and it's a real challenge. And while it might not necessarily be a safety consideration due to COVID, it's a safety consideration as to whether or not we can safely supervise the students in the building. We've regularly at Kelly Elementary School, for example, had 26 teachers, staff members, had 25 to 30% of the staff out. And miraculously, we've been able to cover it. But I will tell you that it has been tremendously disruptive to the instructional program because it's necessitated pulling specials area teachers, phys ed, art, world language to cover those classrooms. We have principals covering classrooms. We have supervisors covering classrooms. This is all the triage that's happening. You saw this week with transportation and busing, where we didn't have enough drivers to drive our buses, and neither did Hunterton, our contractor. So we literally couldn't deliver certain runs, and we had to let parents know that. Our custodial crew, with this volume of cases, is being hit. We're on a shoestring to be able to have the necessary human resources in our buildings to be able to properly clean and sanitize our buildings in order that they remain the safe environments that the research has shown them to be, because that's been a big piece of that as well. So all of these are sort of these collective challenges that are presented, and it's not necessarily born out of that same type of fear that existed last year, where we were genuinely fearful of the virus. I think there's a lot less fear for the virus because of vaccines and because of what we know, and because we know Omicron's less serious. But it's just the corresponding disruptions that are caused. And I would agree with you. If the State Department of Health, which they haven't to date, are to adopt those revised CDC quarantine guidelines, that will be huge. Test to stay, that will be huge. But to date, the New Jersey Department of Health has not adopted those guidelines for New Jersey public schools. Now, can a local school district exercise its own discretion? It would appear not, because the local Department of Health shows no willingness, and I don't mean that pejoratively. They're going to follow the guidelines of the State Department of Health, which is their overseeing authority. To date, that hasn't happened, and it's just been on the CDC level. But I'm very hopeful that they will align, because I think that'll make things much easier from a staffing standpoint and much less disruption to kids and out of school. But make no mistake, we are eager to get back to where the rhythm we were into September, through November. I think once we get past this surge, we'll have a very good chance at doing that. But next week, our intention is to go back to full days. We will continue to offer that virtual option for folks that want it. And the goal is that by Tuesday, January 18th, we're back to business district-wide. So we're on the same page, and we're committed to that, Mr. Bloom. Appreciate the comments. And that's all I have, Ms. Tunnicliffe.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cascone. If I can just address Ms. Mordecai's concerns about the press release for the negotiations. The board will defer that question till January 24th once the MOAs have been voted on. So stay tuned, and thank you also for the reminder about the ad hoc committees. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay. I just wanted to, it's not on the agenda, but I did want to give, usually we have board reports, and since we don't really have official reports tonight, but I did want to give any board members who wanted to say a few words an opportunity to do so, especially since we have 2 new board members with us tonight. So if anyone would like to say a few words now, please do so.
In any particular order, or do we get to change the order?
Oh, that's right.
President,
I'm supposed to give an order, aren't I? Well, why don't we start with you, Ms. Huerta, if you have anything to say.
So some things change and some things don't, I see. So thank you, President Tunnicliffe and Vice President Gary Rothstein, and welcome to the newest board members, Eric and Brian. Look forward to the work that we can accomplish. And thank you, Dr. Cascone. Very saddened to hear that you are going to be leaving, but definitely leaving our district in a better place. And thank you to our community members who consistently stay involved and, help us to direct the district and keep, keep focused on things that we might miss or might not, catch. And that's all I have for tonight. I don't have any board reports. I do recommend for New Jersey School Board, they are having virtual governance trainings for the new board members and for the for us more senior members, our governance 2 for myself, and then governance 3 for Mr. Rothstein and Ms. Tunnicliffe. And there's going to be several other opportunities that we can take advantage of in training and grow together in our experience for the upcoming years. And that's all I have. Thank you very much. And I hope everyone stays safe.
Thank you, Ms. Huerta. Mr. Rock, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yes. I was a high school social studies teacher, and when you give the history teacher the floor, it's kind of dangerous. I could talk for a while, but I'll be brief. I just want to quickly thank all my friends and family who supported me throughout the campaign, especially my wife, Marie, who's going to have to put up with some late nights at all of these fun meetings. Since college, I've worked as an educator and committed my life to education, and I really look forward to this new role that I'm going to play in supporting public education as a role of the board. When my uncle, who was also an educator, found out that I was elected, he was quick to remind me that this is an awesome responsibility, and it is. And we bear responsibility for the future of our children, for maintaining a system of public schools that prepares them to be successful at college, to achieve their career goals, and most importantly, to become engaged citizens. And today of all days, we should remember that last priority. Our republic is fragile, and whether or not we keep this republic is going to depend on that next generation and their commitment to democracy and to the rule of law. Here in West Orange, at least, that next generation, I think, gives us a little bit of hope. So with that, I'm excited about the next 3 years and what all of us can accomplish by working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rock. Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, President Tunnicliffe. I just want to say thank you to the citizens of West Orange for their support. I will honor the oath that I took tonight to serve to the best of my ability. Tonight, I'm thinking about my family, my wife, and my children, and the children who attend the schools in this community. It is important that we be aspirational as leaders, that we expect nothing but the best, that we can produce a school district that really appeals to the highest dreams that our children can accomplish. And so with that, I serve with the commitment to make sure that we strive every day as a district and as a board to ensure that opportunities abound for the students who attend our schools, and that from leadership to the classroom, that commitment be shared in collaboration and in partnership. And that is my hope as a board member. And lastly, I want to say to my fellow board members, it's an honor to serve with you. Know that my commitment over the next 3 years is one that I take seriously, and we should do right and work every day for the promotion, protection, and preservation, but more importantly, the achievement of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Vice President Rothstein.
Thank you. What an exciting time. I mean, really, there's so much hope and enthusiasm at the reorganization meeting at the beginning of the year. And just reflecting on new members coming in, and Brian and Eric, just so excited about having this opportunity to work with you and seeing what you bring to the board to strengthen us and strengthen our district. And Melinda and Jen continuing to work with you and the excellence that you bring to the board. Of course, mixed with the sadness of Dr. Cascone's impending departure from the district. But I guess really the theme here is that we're always in flux. We're always in a state of flux. And really, I was reflecting on how terrific it is to be in a community like ours, where so many people are so committed to and dedicated to the success of our students and the success of our schools. So no matter the makeup, no matter who the faces are, who you see on the screen or at the table at an in-person meeting that hopefully we'll be back to again very shortly. this is just a terrific community with, I think, its values in the right place with our students. And so it's a real honor and privilege to serve in this role. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rothstein. And I just wanted to thank everyone for being here tonight. Congratulations to our 2 new board members. And I'm looking forward to working with all of you this year. Not quite the year that we had expected it would be, but every board has its challenges. So we have ours cut out for us. And I think this is a great group to be up to the task of finding the next leader for our district. And I look forward to working with all of you. So on that note, our next board meeting will be held at the public meeting is at 7 p.m. on January 19th, 2022. It will be at West Orange High School. And right now we will adjourn to our executive session to discuss item number 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, and no further action will be taken afterwards.
President Tunnicliffe.
Yes.
I'm sorry, before we go, I'm not sure that I have a link for our closed session. If we don't have one of those, I think we need to set that up.
Mr. Rothstein, let me go in there for you. I will invite the board now.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Excellent catch. Thank you so much. Okay. And on that note, tonight's meeting is adjourned. Is there am I missing something, Ms. Flowers?
A motion and a second and a vote to
Oh,
go
right.
adjourn and go into executive session.
Sorry.
You good?
Second.
Great.
So that was Ms. Huerta and Mr. Rock, or was that Mr. Stevenson?
No, Mr.
Stevenson.
Stevenson.
Mr. Stevenson, thank you. I'm getting used to the new voices. My head was down. Thank you. And do you want to do a roll call or a voice
All
vote?
in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you and good night, everybody.
Good night,
Have a
everyone.
good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you. This is to inform everyone that when I end this meeting, it will end for both those on and off screen, and the board will be going to executive session, but that is not privy to the audience and they will not be coming back out afterwards. So this is good night to everyone and have a happy new year. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank